Disney versus Pixar. This is one of the fundamental clashes in history. Both colossals of their industry, both with huge successes, both contending for the best animation studio in the world. In this corner, we have Disney Feature Animation. At the ripe age of 95, Disney has triumphed over the industry by creating the first feature animated film, releasing over 50 animated features, capitalizing on some of the most popular franchises, and bringing to life the most famous mouse in the world. And in this corner, we have Pixar. Since Pixar first captured the world's attention with the first computer-generated animated film, the studio has continued to release 14, the highest grossing animated features of all time, and triumphed as the studio focused on storytelling. This young studio has come a long way from its original goal of selling computers. Hello, I'm Isaac from Watso Videos, where we discuss fun topics for fun people, and today, 2 studios and 32 movies will enter the Disney Pixar bracket, but only one will win my choice as number 1. If you are new, I'd like to personally welcome you to one of the most magical channels on YouTube. On the channel, we talk about Disney all the time, so I would recommend subscribing and clicking that notification bell to stay up to date with more magical content and make sure YouTube's weirdness can't affect you. Now, Disney versus Pixar is not a new topic of discussion, but the Disney Pixar bracket was created really recently. The bracket was created by a guy named Jolly Rancher, aka at SMJXMJ, on March 24th, 2018, and when he released an empty bracket on March 25th, this began to spread like wildfire over Twitter. Eventually, of course, I saw it on my Twitter, at Watso Videos, which you should follow for updates on myself and the channel, and when I found this bracket, I knew I needed to discuss my picks on the channel. So let's get this showdown underway. Round 1 was pretty easy for me. In most cases, I was choosing the Disney princess films because I really enjoy the music and the stories behind those. But the one case I didn't do this was Princess and the Frog versus Lilo and Stitch. This was probably the first bit of an upset for some people. Now, I'll probably be explaining this more in the next round, but Lilo and Stitch is very near and dear to my heart, and I feel like it has a very compelling storyline, but I will discuss that more when it fights its next competitor. In short, I really just felt that Lilo and Stitch had a much stronger story than Princess and the Frog, even though I love everything about Princess and the Frog. Another difficult choice was Frozen versus Moana. That one really rattled my mind for a long time, but it just eventually came down to which one I felt was, I don't know, more magical or something? It's difficult for me to explain why I chose Frozen over Moana. I think it was mainly just because I've always known that Frozen was a keeper. Moana, I had hesitation about and have learned to really love it, of course, but Frozen has always felt like the pinnacle of Disney animation to me. Another difficult choice was Toy Story 1 versus Toy Story 2, but it just kind of came down to Toy Story 2 I've always just enjoyed more, especially because Woody is just such a nice character in Toy Story 2 compared to the first. Oh, and Finding Nemo versus Inside Out pretty much just came down to I like the Finding Nemo story a ton. You know, just love hanging with the Jelly Man. So that was all the difficult choices in round 1. But I just wanted to let you know that all the links to these movies are in the description, so if you haven't seen any of them, definitely go check them out. Okay, there is definitely one major upset that I will need to discuss, but let's break down the first few things that were difficult. The first difficult was Frozen versus Tangled, which I've seen stories that say that Tangled and Frozen are pretty much the same stories, so that was a difficult one to pin against one another. Once again, the decision to choose Frozen over Tangled came down to how I initially saw the films. When I first saw Tangled, I felt like some of the humor was really weird for a Disney film, but I've learned to enjoy it more through Tangled the series, but Frozen, once again, has just always been a strong film in my opinion. The other choice was Aladdin versus The Little Mermaid, which, although Aladdin is a great film, once again, it kind of came down to the humor. Aladdin does have, of course, Robin Williams. It's a very funny film, but I don't enjoy how some of the later Renaissance films got really weird about referencing modern topics, and although a lot of the jokes land really well, a lot of them just don't resonate with me as much as the ones in Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is fun and lovable even without knowing what was going on in the 90s, which for me makes The Little Mermaid much more of a long-time, timeless classic than Aladdin. Before I get to my big Disney upset though, Pixar was really hard. First there was Monsters, Inc. versus The Incredibles. Now, this is one that really bogged me down because my probably personal favorite of the Pixar films is the Monsters, Inc. franchise. I really like Mike and Sully's relationship, and I love the world that they created, but The Incredibles just felt like a more perfect film, I guess? The Incredibles just feels more tied together with a perfect bow. It's like they were... In a lot of cases, the Pixar ones could mix around a ton because the Pixar films, in my mind, are all pretty evenly matched. Because I've talked about the Disney films so much and have always had them in my life, while lots of the Pixar films have come out more recently, I've had more time to mull over which ones are my favorite in Disney, while Pixar, a lot of them just are evenly done. Incredibles just felt more refined, which is why it won. And the same type of argument lasts on Ratatouille versus Finding Nemo. Although Finding Nemo is a super fun film, I just feel like Ratatouille is a much more emotionally... See, I was about to say that it was a more emotionally impactful, but then I think of them swimming down in the net, and that's really touching too. And then Marlin hanging off of the whale tongue? I keep thinking of all these words like refined or more perfect or things like that, but that just doesn't capture what I'm trying to say. I love Marlin's character arc in the first Finding Nemo film, but there's just something compelling about Ratatouille and its direction that made me choose that over Finding Nemo. I also remember seeing Ratatouille in theaters and it having a large impact on me, which also leads me to choose that film. And as for Coco versus Toy Story 3, personally, I just feel like sometimes Toy Story is put on this pedestal, but I know it has emotional impact, and it did for me as well when I've rewatched it, but Coco just feels like it has something special. Its music, the emotion behind it, the cultural significance is just something I couldn't ignore, and it doesn't help that it was brand new and it's still in the forefront of my mind, so Coco was chosen. But then there's the biggest upset of my bracket that was a complete buster. Everyone's intentions of what they thought it was going to be, bang bang, it was over. No one was expecting that, I'm sure. The Lion King is near and dear to people's hearts, and I know that, but so is Lilo and Stitch to me. I enjoy the Lion King film, and I enjoy the lore behind it and the characters and how it all flows together, but there is one issue with Lion King for me. I could make a whole video about this, but I'll just get into it briefly now. When Simba is confessing the truth to the lionesses, Scar, and the hyenas, the lionesses are put off when he says that he's killed Mufasa. The lionesses don't do anything when Scar and the hyenas are pushing Simba off of the cliff after he said that he killed Mufasa. Which means that this whole film about putting the past behind you and moving forward suddenly doesn't apply if the truth means that you had an accident and your father died because of it. Lionesses did not forgive Simba until Scar confesses that he was the real one who did it. If the whole reason that Mufasa had died was because Simba was just accidentally in that wildebeest gorge, then the lionesses would have let Scar kill him. This completely contradicts what Rafiki was saying and the reasons that Simba returned to the Pride Lands. This moral ambiguity just completely destroyed The Lion King for me when I first heard about it on Channel Awesome, and it's something that just doesn't happen in Lilo and Stitch, which is why I chose it. Lilo and Stitch is about family, it's got a quirky story, lovable characters, and it's near and dear to my heart, which is why it beat out The Lion King. We've moved on to round 3. And then we go back to the Pixar stuff, and that gets super confusing because they're all on the kind of the same level for me. On any other given day, these could all switch pretty fluidly. I ended up choosing Toy Story 2 over Coco, mainly because I just have a big nostalgia for Toy Story 2. I feel like the characters really learn a lot about themselves, while in Coco, they learn about their family. Toy Story 2 is just a really compelling story for me. And as for why Incredibles trumps Ratatouille, well, that's again because of the characters. All of the characters within The Incredible are strong and memorable. And then in Ratatouille, while Remy is amazing, the villains are not as compelling. It's definitely theorizable, and the theorizers come up with some great stuff for that, but it just doesn't do enough for me to beat out The Incredibles. Okay, let's first get it out of the way. Beauty and the Beast is moving on. There's something that resonates about Beauty and the Beast and its beautiful story about love and the characters. And I just, and then we had Frozen versus Lilo and Stitch, which is sister story versus sister story. As for why I chose Lilo and Stitch over Frozen, well, that was because Nani and Lilo's relationship truly feels like a natural, real sister relationship, while Anna and Elsa do learn about each other and come together again. I found the growth between Nani and Lilo super interesting to watch on screen, which is why I chose Lilo and Stitch.
Ding, ding.
Round 4. But even though Lilo and Stitch beat out some big hitters in Disney, they could not beat Beauty and the Beast for me. Beauty and the Beast feels like a timeless story that is about love and acceptance, and Lilo and Stitch does it very well, but there's something about Beauty and the Beast that just resonates me to the core. Beauty and the Beast just wins the day for me. And then back on the Pixar side, there's The Incredibles versus Toy Story 2, which was, again, super difficult. Toy Story 2 amazingly grew on the characters we loved from Toy Story 1, while The Incredibles established a whole slew of new characters and created a compelling villain. Toy Story 2 was great, but I felt that the villain and the story of The Incredibles was strong enough to take it as the winner of that side of the bracket.
Ding, ding.
Final round. We've got two of the best of Disney feature animation and Pixar animation studios, Beauty and the Beast and The Incredibles. For me, it was a lot easier choosing this round than many of the previous rounds. Beauty and the Beast is a film where I feel like everything within it has meaning and purpose. Each bit and piece of information builds upon itself, and it fabricates this perfect story of love and growth. I love every song and I love every character. The Incredibles is great, don't get me wrong. But for me, Beauty and the Beast just has the timeless tale, the magic, and the beautiful storytelling that Disney is known for. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably already know this, but Beauty and the Beast is my favorite film of all time, which is why it has won the final round of the Disney Pixar bracket. Me and Chip going at it. Nice work, nice work. You did good, Beast, you're amazing. Winner, winner! Those are the fireworks going off behind me. So this was my Disney Pixar bracket, but of course, these are just my opinions. Everyone can have different choices for which films they would want to see as number one. I'm glad I was able to find this fun little bracket and was able to look back at all the wonderful aspects of our favorite films. If you enjoy discussing my picks for the Disney Pixar bracket and would like to see me continue to try new types of Disney videos, then make sure to give this video some love by clicking that like button. And if you are interested in staying up to date with more magical Disney videos, then click that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So I've been giving you a ton of my opinions, so now it's time for a question for you, sponsored by my patrons. What film wins your Disney Pixar bracket? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, along with any other ideas you have for future Discovering Disney episodes. If you'd like to see more Watso videos, then check out some awesome picks over here. And as always, thanks for watching and have a magical day.